Title: I abandoned my family, and I am okay with it. I'm sitting in my RV outside a cafe with free internet access, typing this. I have gone over this so many times in my head, but I figured writing this out could help me clarify the thoughts in my head. I abandoned my family a little over a week after D-Day. Wife 36 female and me 37 male and daughter 13 female. It's now almost 6 months since that day. I discovered her affair by chance. I was totally clueless. I believed we had a good marriage. Plenty of intimacy, we would talk about stuff for hours. We had date nights regularly. We had shared and individual hobbies. We were healthy in fairly good shape. It was good. Or maybe it was just me thinking that. My wife, let's call her Eve, cheated, so she obviously preferred another man, not me. And if she could betray me like that, she couldn't possibly love me. Here I was thinking she was my best friend. I guess not. In hindsight, I can see that I probably saw things through rose-tinted glasses. I actually believed that my family cared about me. I believed I was loved. I was the fool, I guess. I came home late from work. There was a safety training seminar I had to attend. She was sleeping on the sofa and a message with some emojis popped up on her phone. Emojis like I would use when I message her. WTF. I snooped and I found out what had been going on for at least 5 months. I knew the guy. Let's call him Adam. He was a work colleague of hers. I had even been to a barbecue at his house and met his family. He was married and had 3 children, the youngest just 2 years old. While reading the messages, something just snapped in my head. It fundamentally changed me. Over the course of reading their messages, I went from loving Eve more than anything to hating her to just going blank. Not just about her, but everything. Totally numb, I took pictures of the messages and went to bed. I didn't sleep at all. I just stared at the ceiling. Eve was pissed the next day that I went to bed without waking her up. She complained about neck pain from sleeping on the couch all night. I wasn't really listening. I just remember thinking how everything was muffled, as if someone had turned down the volume on the world. I was kind of surprised about how little I cared. I felt practically nothing. I should be angry, right? During breakfast, I didn't say a single word. My wife and daughter chatted away. They didn't seem to notice anything different about me or even acknowledge me. But I definitely didn't feel like myself. I felt like I was someone new, someone I didn't know or understand, wearing a suit of the old me. I went through all the daily motions. I went to work, did all the normal stuff. The only difference is I sort of stopped talking. Sadly, I realized that nobody seemed to even notice. It's like I wasn't even there. I started to understand that Eve and my daughter didn't really love me. I was in the house with them, but unless they wanted something from me, they didn't really interact. They talked at me, not with me, if that makes sense. I would get these pangs of pain. They would come and go. Sometimes they would overwhelm me completely. I was not okay. I walked around like this for 5 days before Eve asked me if something was wrong during dinner. I had maybe uttered 3 words in total to her and my daughter in that period. I didn't even answer her question. I just made an I'm okay, don't know face, then continued eating. She seemed okay with that. The next day I didn't go to work. I worked for the local power company. I fixed power lines and such. I packed up some random stuff plus my camping hunting gear. I didn't really have a plan. I put it in my car and walked around the neighborhood for a while. I ended up at the kitchen table waiting for my wife to come home. She came home with a few bags of groceries. She immediately started talking about her day while unpacking. I just sat at the kitchen table in pain. She didn't even look at me apart from one glance as she entered the kitchen. My daughter popped in and did the same. Their backs were turned to me and they talked about some trivial crap on sale. I have never felt so rejected, unappreciated, and so alone. I felt totally invisible, like I wasn't there or that I wasn't worth acknowledging. I was thinking back on our lives, and all I could see was that they didn't care about me at all. They probably never did. I was an accessory to their life. I just didn't matter to them. I was a convenient and useful prop. I was hit with a wave of pain. I cried still. They didn't notice, so I got angry, very angry. I had a glass of water in front of me. I stood up and threw it hard at the tiles over the sink. Just exploded. Glass shards rained over everything. They both turned around, angry. What the H? They froze, unsure what to do when they saw my contorted, tear-soaked face. It was uncomfortably quiet for a long while before I spoke. Eve, I know all about your cheating with Adam. I was surprised how clear it came out since I was clenching my jaw so hard it hurt. My daughter looked at Eve. What, is that true, Mom? Eve started to try to explain. She briefly glanced at me and said, sorry, I can explain. Then she turned back to our daughter and they started arguing. Again, it was like I was invisible or something. Hello, glass thrower here. After a few minutes watching their increasingly heated argument, I just walked out and got in my car. I looked at them again through the window, still arguing in the kitchen. They didn't even notice I had left. I sat there for a few more minutes before I gave up and just drove off. It took maybe 15 minutes before Eve tried to call me, then call after call after call, then a flood of texts from both of them. I just ignored it and eventually turned the phone off. The next day I took half of our money out and called my boss. I told him I didn't know when I would be back. He told me if I didn't show up, I was fired. I just told him okay and hung up. I just didn't care. I went to Adam's house. His wife opened. I gave her a copy of the messages and told her what Adam and my wife had been up to. I left her crying on the stairs. At the end of the day, I ended up in a cheap hotel at the edge of town. The next few days were kind of a blur while I tried to come to terms with things. I didn't make any real progress, mostly staring at the wall trying to think of reasons not to end myself. Eve's older brother is a cop. Let's call him Bob. Bob showed up on the third or fourth day, I'm not sure. Don't know how he found me. He tried to interrogate me. I didn't say anything. When I didn't engage, he told me I was under arrest and put me in cuffs. However, he didn't take me to the station like I expected. He took me home instead. Bob dragged me into the living room where my wife and daughter immediately started berating me. Still, I said nothing. I just listened in amazement while they told me how terrible this was for them. What a terrible a-hole I was for making them worry. It went on for a while. In the end, Eve screamed at me, "Say something." I stared at her for a while before calmly saying, "I have nothing to say to you, whore." Bob freaked out and slammed me against the wall, screaming at me to not talk to his sister that way. I got a lot of satisfaction out of Bob's violent reaction. I don't know why, it made me so happy I was laughing. Bob's wife left him 4 months earlier. I smiled at Bob. "You're pathetic, Bob. Did you beat your wife too, Bob?" "Is that why she left you?" Bob hit me hard. I went down. Wife and daughter started screaming their heads off. As I started to get up, I just laughed even harder. I just couldn't help myself. I was bleeding from somewhere. I saw it on the floor. I am still in handcuffs, laughing. Maybe it was the absurdity of it all. I spat blood in Bob's face and said, "Heck you, Bob." He hit me again, hard enough to knock me out cold this time. I woke up in the hospital. I puked all over the floor the second I opened my eyes, so I knew I had a concussion. Eve, Bob, and my daughter were there. They were talking at me. I was too confused to make it out. A nurse appeared and asked them to leave. She got me a pan to puke in and called someone to clean. While she was taking my pulse, I told her that my family put me here and that they were not to come anywhere near me, that if they came back into the room, I would leave. I would just run away. She argued kind of sternly that running or even getting up was a really bad idea for me, but she would talk to security. I didn't see them again in the hospital. It was bliss. Finally, I felt a little at peace. I spent a few more days in the hospital. The nurses were kind and the doctors gave me plenty of time to rest and recover, though I couldn't shake the thoughts in my head. My body was healing, but emotionally I was in turmoil. I had nothing but time to think, and all I could think about was how I had been betrayed, not just by Eve, but by everyone I had trusted. The hardest part was seeing how much my daughter had been affected. She hadn't asked for any of this. She didn't deserve to be caught in the crossfire, but I knew deep down that Eve's actions were not my fault. She chose this path. I just had to figure out what to do next. When I was discharged, I didn't go home. I couldn't. I couldn't bear the thought of seeing Eve or Bob or even my daughter in the same house. I needed space to breathe, to think, to heal. For the next week, I rented a small cabin near the lake. It was quiet, peaceful. I started to feel like myself again, without the constant reminder of the betrayal that haunted me every waking hour. I spent my time writing down everything that had happened, everything I had learned about myself, my marriage, my family. I came to a realization that I couldn't ignore. I had been so wrapped up in trying to fix my marriage and making Eve happy that I had neglected myself. I had been living for everyone else but me, and in the process I had lost myself. I began to reflect on what I wanted out of life, what I deserved. I knew I needed to let go of the anger and the hurt. I couldn't move forward if I kept holding onto the past, but that wasn't easy. Every time I thought about Eve, about what she had done, I felt that rage build up again. I reached out to a therapist. It wasn't easy. I wasn't used to talking about my feelings, but I knew I needed help. I couldn't carry this burden on my own. The therapist helped me start to process everything. Slowly, I was learning to let go of the past and focus on my future. One day, a few weeks later, I received a letter from Eve. It was short. She apologized, but I could see that it was more for her peace of mind than for me. She wanted me to come back home. She wanted to fix things, but it felt hollow. The apology didn't feel genuine. It felt like a plea for forgiveness without truly understanding the depth of her betrayal. I didn't respond. I needed more time. I wasn't ready to face her. I wasn't ready to forgive her. And maybe I realized I wasn't going to. As the months passed, I kept moving forward. I found a new sense of independence, a new sense of self-worth. I began focusing on my own healing, on rebuilding my life without Eve, without anyone who had hurt me. I started working on myself physically, emotionally, and mentally. I took up new hobbies, met new people, and slowly the pain started to fade. I still think about my daughter often. I miss her. I hope one day, when she's older, she'll understand why I had to make the choices I did. I hope she'll see that I did it for my own well-being, that I couldn't continue living in a toxic environment. I love her, and I'll always be there for her no matter what. As for Eve, I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if there's ever a chance for reconciliation. I don't even know if I want that. What I do know is that I am stronger now. I am free. And that is something I never thought I would be able to say after everything that happened. I don't know what comes next, but I'm no longer afraid of it. Let me know what you think. Did Op do the right thing? Should he go back to see his daughter and reconcile? Let me know in the comments below.